the Mighty Mo Brewing Center. What do we call this, Casey?
Mighty Mo Brewing Company. This is just our brewery right here.
There's a brewery. We're in the brewery, and we're enjoying tasty barley to beer treats from the Mighty Mo. So I'm Adam, the president and CEO of the Chamber. I'll start with Lori. Lori, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Lori Wickett. I'm the Director of Engagement for Montana Wheat and Barley Committee.
Kent Kuffner, Executive Director, Montana Wheat and Barley Committee.
And I'm Mitch Conan. I'm a barley producer out on the Fairfield bench. I'm also the president of the National Barley Growers Association.
I'm Casey Kingsland, owner, brewer here at Mighty Mo Brewing Company.
And online we have a guest. Mark, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Mark Black with 49th Parallel, a consulting entity of mine after spending 21 years in the malting industry and 22 years in the grain industry. So I retired about a year and a half ago and went into consulting.
And he's joining us from out of state. Thanks for joining us, Mark. So if anyone has any questions about what we're talking about today, or like how to make the best beer, this is the group that'll be able to answer that question, I hope. So we'll get started. So let's talk about barley. How much barley is grown in our state? Like if we're driving by, are we able to easily just pick out barley? Like what are we doing with barley growing?
Sure, it's a popular cropping choice for the grower, particularly where Mitch is at on the Fairfield bench, commonly known as malt barley capital of the world.
Okay.
And there are different varieties. Some are feed and some are forage. Certainly a high percent of it is for malting, which is what we want to talk about today. And so our production of barley is somewhat erratic depending on Mother Nature. Irrigation water supplies, a lot of dry land acres. So in general, use 50 million bushels as a rough gauge for our annual production for barley in Montana.
And how much beer would 50 million bushels make?
Boy, you're putting me on the spot. A lot.
A lot of beer.
I don't know. I'm not even going to try to do the math and have somebody fact check that, but a lot.
Is it half feed and half production, or is it depends
Kind
on
of
the
depends
year?
on the year. There's a lot of acres that are grown with malting barley, the end goal that it wants to make money, because in general it's going to be higher value when it's malting barley. Sometimes Mother Nature isn't as favorable for the grower, and his production doesn't make malt quality. So year in and year out it changes. Let's use 50-50 for discussion. Half malt, half livestock feed.
Okay.
I think a lot of it is usually we're producing right around 26 to 28,000 acres of barley in the state of Montana to make that 50 plus million bushels. And it goes up and down. Last year we were down on quite a few acres. This year it looks like we're going to have about a 2.5% bump in those acres. So, and it's hard to quote numbers because they're all over the board from one year to the next, but in most cases, about 70% of the production of barley in Montana goes into the malt industry.
Wow.
And a lot of it depends on weather and everything else. And the last couple of years, we've seen a lot more go into the feed markets because it was off grade. It didn't make good quality malt barley, so it was going into the feed industry, which is, we're supporting the cattle producers within the state with that barley feed. And but it's a lesser value to us as farmers, so we're always pushing to make good quality barley, actually the best quality barley there is in the whole nation. In the nation, yeah, in the whole world. So
Is barley a crop that needs to be rotated, or can you continuously grow on the same land?
I've got acres on my farm that have been in barley on barley for over 40 years.
Does that produce a better product?
Well, I mean, the varieties change from year to year. So the companies like Anheuser-Busch or like Molson Coors or some of the other companies or major breweries and whatnot have their own varieties. So that changes, and it's every 4 or 5 years, we usually see a new cycle of varieties come out, just because as they use up that seed stock, it does start to dwindle over time on the productive level of it. And a lot of it is bred with has a lot of genes in it and everything else that fight a lot of the abiotic stresses that we have, whether it's insects or whether it's diseases and stuff like that. So, and over time, everything evolves, so they got to keep upgrading the varieties. Is
Okay.
basically what they're doing.
Mark, wanted to add something?
No, Mitch clarified it there. It's about 75% malting to feed produced in Montana. And then 20% of that produced is unirrigated ground versus dry land. So hence that's why such a variance in production numbers year over year is because it's there's so much dry land in there. The other thing, I believe on your question of how much beer will that create, over a napkin with another consultant for wheat and barley, we figured it's about 750 million beers.
750 million is what he said. Holy moly, he's overcalculating. So when you said that,
750 million what?
so did he say barrels?
Beers.
Beers,
Beer.
750
Oh, beers.
million beers. Okay. So that's Butte on St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So Casey, from your standpoint, and I know you mentioned some of the mass producers, but how, with that change in weather, is there consistency in the barley? Like, do you get a consistent product locally here?
Yeah, I think so. We do. So we deal a lot with Malt Europe, which is a local maltster, and they're on such a big scale. I think they have the ability to blend different batches from different harvests, so they can create more of a consistent product. And that's what we're looking for when we get it. Is the consistent product. We know that it's going to be the same every time. The same protein, the same moisture content, same quality, and we know that we're getting it fresh from one of the best growing regions in the country, just right here in our back door. So we know that that's going to consistently produce good beer.
So what makes Montana so special for being able to produce? Is it the
That's-
water? Because I think like Coors always says it's the water.
Yeah, it's the $1 million question. Part of it is from a marketing side is just God's gift to Montana. Our elevation, our climate, the amount of dryness we have in our climate, funny enough, cures that grain to perfection. And because we have such cold winters, we have less disease and propensity for certain insects that others, say in the Midwest would have. And all of those factors, and including lava rock, all of those factors combined make it a very rare place for barley or wheat or pretty much any of those types of cereal grains that are raised here in Montana.
It's the overall environment up here in Montana. Low humidities, cooler nights,
Cool nights. is a
cooler
key.
days.
Okay,
And-
yeah, so just
Water is definitely an issue.
we've had it. The last week has been great.
And this week we're making up for the last couple of years.
Right.
This week.
Just
so
this week.
But it is. That's kind of why Fairfield's been monikered as the barley capital of the world over the years, because we got a pocket up there on that irrigated bench that just the weather is always conducive to making good quality malt barley.
Perfect. Anybody have any questions? Feel free to put them in the chat. I'm looking at Jordan. It looks like there's no questions. So Casey, we were talking before. How many varieties of beer do you make, and are they from the same barley? Is it?
So yeah, we have 6 regular beers that we always have on tap, and then we're constantly producing seasonal beers. So as far as beer styles, it's kind of endless. But most of 90% of the barley that I use is just a basic pale malt 2-row barley that's most of it's grown right here in Montana. Some of the specialty malts I have to order in from out of state, but that's just less than usually 10% of the total grain bill. But with our base pale malt here, we can, it's endless as far as the amount of varieties that we can brew.
So is it just longer? Like how do you get the different flavor if it's the same barley?
Well, so our base grain is the same barley, but it's the specialty malts that kind of add to the complexity and the different mouthfeel and the different, roasted levels and all that. And then there's other things that come into play, as far as yeast and hops and all that. But with all the different barley's varieties available to us, we're able to create a lot of different recipes from that.
You even said that you created wine once. You have a barley wine.
Well, I was talking about a barley wine, which not to be confused with, a grape fermented.
Okay, so
wine.
it's not the same thing.
No, it's just a beer style. So yeah, a barley wine is just a very high alcohol beer made with barley.
See, the good news is Lucy doesn't have to run around in a vat and squish all the grapes.
Right,
Good thing.
right. So what are the latest trends that you see has things changed over the years, or is it kind of just a stable thing? So Montana's been around for a long time. It sounds like we've been growing barley a long time in the state. Are there trends that are making it easier, making it harder?
Probably the biggest trend that we've been seeing lately over the last quite a few years is the explosion of the pre-mixed drinks and whatnot, taking a lot of our market share away from beer.
Okay.
A lot of them flavors, a lot of them tastes have taken a lot of that business away from the beer itself. The brew pubs, when they came in, it was a big thing. That helped the market to begin with, and then all of these new ready-to-drink drinks
Like
that they
seltzers
have,
and such,
seltzers and whatnot, have taken a lot of that market share away from us. I think it's a fad because I think the last quarter that we saw, we were starting to see a little bit of an uptick coming back into the beer markets, market share. And so, I mean, that's just a game that we're always playing. Everybody does, because what's the newest, latest thing? And I think beer is still going to be stable. You got our grandfathers or great grandfathers brought it from the old country, and that's what they survived on, and I think that's what will continue on eventually. So, and as long as we got guys like Casey that are willing to experiment and come up with new flavors and new different kinds of beers, I think that'll help us keep the market strong. So.
Yeah. And Casey's come up with some unique ones.
Yeah, we tried to mix it up a little bit. But like one thing I think that beer really does, it just kind of brings everybody together, and especially like on a local level. Everybody can just sit down and have a beer together. It creates more dialogue. It's just more of a community type of beverage.
Yeah.
I'm so glad Casey brought that up, because while we're all tired of the broken record of COVID, COVID really smacked the beer industry hard. And some of that recovery is the basement theory. And there's been recent connections, particularly studies on men who would normally gather around in a pool hall and drink beer together, and that's how they socialize and create bonds. And we have a distinct departure from that going on in this country. And so there's a lot of interest in what is it going to take to return the social aspect for men back to what is probably more healthy for men to, joining together and sharing their day and work life and relationships. And then beer is a really funny part of that story, but a very key part of that story of gathering for the male folks in our country.
But we allow females.
I know. It's so nice.
Yeah, and I think that's a point that, I mean, until you brought it up, I wouldn't have thought of. Just,
Yeah.
I mean, you think about it, but in general, just that is a gathering thing. It brings people together, whether you like a darker beer, or whether you like an IPA, which I think is disgusting, or whether you like a lighter beer. You know, you have multiple choices to have, especially here with what you do, Casey. So what else is barley used for? We talked about feed, we talked about beer. You don't sell the product completely. Where does it go?
Well, of course, we emphasize malt barley, that's what we want to talk about today.
Yeah.
But certainly there are other uses. There's a food barley component. It's a very healthy choice for in different foods. Pet foods, it's a big deal, particularly in dog foods.
Okay.
And there are other minor uses beyond that we can consider, and we kind of emphasize at the Wheat and Barley Committee, trying to prop up demand for barley. That's one part of our mission. But certainly livestock feed. That's going to be the major take. Whether it's whether we're feeding dairy cattle, beef cattle, other livestock, that certainly consumes a significant portion of the barley.
So if we drink more beer, you make more barley because you still got to feed the cows. We just don't want to get rid of our steak if you drink more beer, if you know what I mean, right? We still want those cows fed. Yeah. What else are we missing on the whole barley topic? What is it? We talked about the growing. We talked about varieties of beer.
Well,
what should people know?
Just the overall economy of the farm sector is barley is a big factor in it. Not just because of beer and everything else, but I mean, you still got equipment manufacturers, you got equipment out there, you got fertilizer, and you got a few chemicals that we use and stuff like that. So I mean, it's an overall support of the general economy, whether it's in the state or at a national level, even around the world, and then all of the other outlets that we have, whether it's pet food industries starting to come along with some uses for this barley. Barley is a heart healthy product, has been called that, has been proven to be. So we need to have a lot more research into that food component just for human consumption as well, because it is a heart healthy product. It's not that we grow out on the farm. So I think there's a lot of potential out there that just needs to be researched and proven and whatnot. So that's probably one of the things that we're trying to push is to make sure that research is well funded and is brought into the economy at some point in time, because it's another alternative for other things that are out there, so that aren't quite as healthy. So.
Yeah.
So at Montana State University, they have one of only two, and it's the #1 lab for craft malt. It's a brewing lab, and they have upwards of, I think it's 25 or 30 different entities across the country and internationally as well that ask for their malt to be tested in their malt lab. It's a fantastic opportunity for the Caseys of the world to be able to hone a better product. And we're really proud of that from a state perspective and the economy that we all talk about so much, because I think one thing happens for our urban consumer is they understand the farm to table a little bit because they've heard the buzzword, but they don't really know it. And our job is to make sure that we're educating consumers as much as we are educating our growers for different issues. And that farm to table is not something distant. You can drive 2.5 miles east of Great Falls and be in a barley field right now and actually touch it and smell it and see it in full harvest, or when little bitty and growing. And with all of that comes that sensory understanding of connecting the soil of all of us to the food in which we eat. And we don't talk about that enough, about the stewardship, the care, and the concern that growers put in so that Casey has the very best product on the shelf that he can brew. And I don't know, Mitch, if you want to chime in on that a little bit about the quality of that stewardship you all put in.
Well, and that all kind of relates and kind of grinds down to the sustainability of, I mean, I kind of stuck my nose in it when I said, we've been barley for 40 years. Well, if we're not sustainably farming that ground, making sure that we're keeping it in good shape and not abusing it and whatnot, we wouldn't be where we're at. We wouldn't be able to do it year after year on that ground. So we care for that soil and make sure it's in the best shape that we can keep it. And through a lot of different tillage practices and everything that have come out throughout the years, whether we're going to no-till practices or minimum till practices, that soil is our number one input that we have into these crops. So unless we keep that in good shape, we're not going to have a good crop. And so that just goes right along with all of the rest of the different varieties that we have and everything else. It's just one big equation that we have to keep solving year after year, and it works for us. So. But that's the big thing, and I hate using them buzzwords anymore because I've heard them from one end of this nation to the other. But that's basically what it comes down to until we find another word for it.
Right.
But so it's all of the new technologies and everything else that we've had have helped us with all of that as well. So
Yeah, and the research too. Sounds like it's
and the
helped a
research.
lot. Yeah.
People may not understand what the word variety means. So if you think about it, with your dogs, there's a Labrador or there's a Bulldog. That's a different. You could call that a different variety, sort of, kind of, compared to what we're dealing with in barley or any other cereal grains. So that if you're out shopping for a dog, or you go and pick a dog up at the animal shelter, you might have something in mind that you want, something that's kid friendly, okay? Or you might want a dog that's protective. Barley's no different. They're sourcing varieties specific to maybe a contract that they've made with the recipient, or maybe Casey has said in his conversation with someone through the malt house, we really want to see a flavor go this direction, or we want a performance level to move, and Casey can speak to this a whole lot better than I can, in a certain direction. Maybe it's timing, maybe it's an evolutionary thing within the genetics of that particular variety that can churn out something different than what they have had. And those innovations are critically important to Casey being able to sell beer. I don't know, Casey, if you want to share on that.
Yeah, so we do have a good relationship with Malt Europe, and we can, if we have any problems, we know that we can call them, and if there's an issue, it's fixed right away, or they'll always have a solution to whatever we need. If there's a different variety that we're looking for, maybe we want a little more body in our beer, or a little more color to the beer. We can talk with them, and they'll push us in the right direction as to what strains of barley we might use, or to what level of that they're malted. So there's different levels of malting also. So there's a lot of different things that come into play, not just the variety of barley, but how it's actually malted. So there's a lot of different things. Once I get it, that we can determine the flavor of the beer and whatnot. That's one other thing I want to touch on was, like, it doesn't just stop with us. Like, it's the consumer in the tap room, the people actually enjoying the beer. The barley doesn't stop here either. Like, once we're done with it, we give it to a rancher and he feeds it to his cows. So it kind of helps everybody, on a state, not only just a statewide level, but also just real local. And I think that's why a lot of people like connecting, on a local level, having a craft beer, because you kind of, everyone's just kind of helping each other out throughout the whole process.
It does make a full circle from the farm
Back to the
back to the farm.
Yeah.
Eventually, and then,
Yeah.
Mark might have some other insights there. He's been in this overall business as well for multiple years. I won't say how many, Mark, but
Thank you.
know if you got an idea or two.
Yeah, it is a unique grain where it does go full circle from the farm direct to the malt house, to Casey, to the brewery, and then the spent grains are fed back into cattle and out into the fields. So it is very unique that way and helps the economy in several different ways and sources. And even the malt byproducts out of the plant there goes into cow-calf pellets and into direct cattle feeding. So it is an interesting product that way.
Yeah. We had a hard tough time hearing him, but Jordan said everything was good. Thanks, Mark. All right, so as we kind of wrap up, Jordan, we get any questions here? There's an event coming up, Casey, that has to do with this product.
Yeah, Craft Beer Week.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's an important kind of full circle as well.
Yeah, so there's a lot of there's some tap takeovers and some beer and food pairings. And we do a golf tournament, and then it all culminates with a brew fest on I think it's June 13th.
Yep.
So yeah, brew fest is right downtown Great Falls, and yeah, it's usually a pretty good turnout. And then we have beer judges that are flown in from around the country to judge all the different beers that are entered in the competition.
Is it local brewers only, or is it from all over?
They're all Montana brewers.
Okay.
Yep.
So we're using Montana products.
Yep.
So yeah, we won the golf tournament last year. I wanted to throw that out there.
And we used to have, and I don't know if this is still the case, Casey, but we had the most brewers per cap, didn't we, in Montana? We had the most brew.
We were close to at one point. I'm not sure we're still up there.
Yeah.
I know, like Colorado, Vermont, and Washington or Oregon are kind of up there too.
Yeah.
It kind of flip flops from year to year.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
And that's like barley production. Montana is number one in the nation for acreage of barley production, but we're usually number two behind Idaho for overall bushels grown, because most of the greater percentage of their barley is grown on irrigated land, where we have quite a bit of dry land here. So
Which means rain fed.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I've attended the Brew Fest down here in Great Falls. I've also attended the National Brew, what do they call it? The
Great American
Craft Brewer Conference, the CBC down in Denver and a few other places, and they always have competitions on the best beer, and that's nationwide. And Montana usually has one or two different tap houses that have won some awards. So it's that gets to be pretty prestigious when they get to that level.
Yeah. It'd be
It's
deal.
a matter of pride, I think, too, for the state,
Yeah.
our barley growers, and in Mitch's case, he's our president of our national association. That's a really big deal, and we will celebrate Mitch here in a couple of weeks. So right after all the Brewfest activities, we'll roll into the National Barley Growers Association summer meeting here in Great Falls.
Oh wow, big deal.
Yep.
So people from all over the country, or the world and the country?
All over the country for sure, mostly Idaho, Washington, Colorado, Wyoming, hopefully Minnesota, North Dakota,
Okay.
and our folks that are back in Washington D.C. So
Yeah.
our lobbyists.
Big month for barley in June, it sounds like.
Big
Yeah.
month for barley.
Yeah.
We have declared it barley month.
Barley month. All right, well, we didn't get any more questions here. I thank you all. Thank you, Mark, for joining us via video. If you have any more questions, you can just submit them on this video and we'll answer them or get them to the people who can answer them. And if you have nothing going on next week, still sign up for different events for the Brewfest. I know it's not necessarily your thing. Yeah, or just come downtown on the 13th.
Yeah, I mean, there is an event page, craftbeerweek.com, I
Okay.
believe, and then so you can get on there and check out all the different events throughout the week. And then, like I said, it all ends with the Brewfest on the 13th.
On the 13th.
Yeah, and raise a glass,
Raise
everybody.
the glass. Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thanks
Thank
for the
you.
first
No
ag
barley, no
podcast.
beer.
No barley, no beer. Bye, Mark.
Thank you. Bye.